The flames licked the night sky like hungry tongues, devouring the old barn where I'd spent countless sunsets mending fences and whispering to the horses. I stood there, frozen on the dirt road, the acrid smoke stinging my eyes and choking my throat. The crackle of burning wood echoing like gunfire in the quiet Texas night. My ranch me goddamn legacy was going up in smoke, and I knew exactly who lit the match. Karen Whitaker, the Homeowners Association queen bee with her perfectly manicured nails and her endless petitions, had finally crossed the line from nosy neighbor to arsonist. She'd been hounding me for years about my non-compliant property, screaming that my sprawling acres didn't fit her cookie-cutter suburb vision. But tonight, as sirens wailed in the distance like a mournful howl, I felt a twisted smile creep across my face. She had no idea she'd just walked into the trap I'd been baiting for months. It started innocently enough, or so it seemed. I'd inherited the ranch from my granddad, a rugged patch of land on the outskirts of Austin where the HOA's tentacles had started creeping in as the city sprawled. Karen, with her bleach blonde bob and her clipboard always at the ready, was the self-appointed enforcer. Mr. Harlan, she'd say, her voice dripping with that fake southern sweetness that masked pure venom. Your fences are an eyesore. And those chickens? They violate code 472. I'd sigh, deep and weary, rubbing the calluses on my hands from years of roping cattle, and tell her to mind her own damn business. But she didn't. Petitions turned to fines, fines to threats. The air would thicken with tension whenever her SUV pulled up, the engine purring like a predator stalking prey. One sweltering afternoon, the kind where the heat shimmers off the ground and the cicadas buzz like a chainsaw symphony, I found her snooping around my property line. She was snapping photos, her heels sinking into the soft earth, muttering about encroachment. I confronted her, my heart pounding with that mix of rage and exhaustion. What the hell are you doing here, Karen? I growled, the sweat trickling down my back like icy fingers. She spun around, eyes wide for a split second before narrowing into slits. Enforcing the rules. Jake, your ranch is bringing down property values. One day, it'll be gone, and we'll all thank me. Her words hung in the air, heavy and ominous, like thunder before a storm. I laughed it off then, but that night, as I sat on my porch with a cold beer fizzing in my hand, the fizz mirroring my bubbling anger, I decided enough was enough. I wasn't going to let some entitled busybody erase my family's history. That's when I called my old buddy, Elias, a lawyer I'd known since high school football days. He showed up unannounced one evening, his truck kicking up dust clouds that glowed orange in the setting sun. Elias was the surprise I didn't see coming, turns out. He'd been digging into Homeowners Association scandals on his own time, fueled by a personal grudge against a similar Karen who'd ruined his parents' farm back in Oklahoma. Jake, my man, he said, clapping me on the back with a grip that spoke of old loyalties. We're gonna turn the tables. But we need evidence. Solid, irrefutable shit. We plotted over whiskey that burned going down, the ice clinking softly in our glasses like secrets being shared. I installed hidden cameras around the perimeter, tiny eyes blinking in the shadows of the oaks, capturing every trespass. Elias drafted up documents, loopholes in the Homeowners Association bylaws that could flip the script. It was a gamble, but as the stars twinkled overhead like distant witnesses, I felt a spark of hope amid the dread. Weeks blurred into a tense standoff. Karen escalated anonymous complaints to the county, whispers to neighbors about my dangerous animals. I'd wake up to the lowing of my cows, a comforting rumble that now carried an undercurrent of fear. One night, a storm rolled in, thunder booming like artillery, rain pelting the roof in relentless sheets. I tossed in bed, the sheets tangled around me, my mind racing. Was she planning something bigger? The next morning, the sun broke through, steam rising from the wet earth like ghosts, and I found scorch marks near the barn. Attempted arson? My pulse quickened, a cold sweat breaking out. I reviewed the footage there. She was a shadowy figure in the rain, lighter flickering like a devil's wink. But it wasn't enough. The cameras caught her face blurred by the downpour. Elias sighed over the phone, his voice crackling with frustration. We need her to go all in, Jake. Make her think she's winning. The turning point came with an unexpected ally, Mrs. Lopez, the quiet widow next door who'd always kept to herself. She knocked on my door one crisp morning, the scent of fresh-baked empanadas wafting from the basket in her arms, a warm contrast to the chill in the air. Senor Harlan, she said, her accent thick and soothing. I saw that woman, Karen, talking to some shady types downtown. They're planning something bad. Her eyes, lined with worry, darted around as if shadows lurked. Turns out, Mrs. Lopez had overheard Karen hiring a lowlife to handle my ranch, her voice hissing like a snake in the local diner where the clatter of plates and coffee murmurs provided cover. This was the twist I needed, the human element, a neighbor stepping out of the background to add depth to my fight. Elias and I ramped up our plan, fake vulnerability. I let the fences sag a bit more, complained loudly at the homeowners association meeting about financial troubles, my voice breaking just enough to sell the despair. Karen bit, her smug grin at the meeting like a shark scenting blood. Then came the fire. That fateful night, the wind howled through the valleys, carrying the faint scent of gasoline before the blaze erupted. I was in the house, the TV droning some mindless show, when the explosion shook the windows, a deafening boom that rattled my bones. Rushing out, barefoot on the gravel that bit into my soles, I watched the barn collapse in a shower of sparks, embers dancing like fireflies from hell. Horses neighed in panic, their hooves thundering as I herded them to safety, my lungs burning from the smoke. Tears streamed down my face, not just from the fumes but from the gut-wrenching loss, the stall where my daughter had learned to ride, now ash. But amid the chaos, my phone buzzed. Elias. Cameras got it all. Crystal clear. She's done. The aftermath was a whirlwind of flashing lights and questions. Firefighters hosed down the ruins, water hissing on hot coals, the air thick with charred wood and regret. Karen showed up the next day, feigning concern, her perfume cloying in the devastation. Oh, Jake, how tragic. She cooed, but her eyes gleamed with triumph. I played along, shoulders slumped, voice trembling. Yeah, tragic. Inside, fury simmered like a pot about to boil over. Elias moved fast, subpoenas flew, footage submitted. The trial was a spectacle, the courtroom humming with tension, the wooden benches creaking under shifting bodies. Karen took the stand, her composure cracking like thin ice. I would never, she protested, but the video played her face illuminated by the flames she'd set, the match striking with a sharp rasp. Gasps rippled through the room, a collective intake of breath. Elias grilled her, his questions sharp as knives. Why hire a thug, Mrs. Whitaker? Why the gasoline trail? She stammered, sweat beading on her forehead, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like accusatory insects. The jury deliberated, the clock ticking agonizingly, each second a hammer blow to my nerves. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, arson, trespass, conspiracy, a wave of relief crashed over me, followed by a sob I couldn't hold back. Karen's face crumpled, her empire of petty rules shattering. She was sentenced to 10 years, her assets seized to rebuild my ranch. As they led her away, handcuffs clicking coldly, she whispered, "This isn't fair." I met her eyes, my voice steady. Fair? You burned my home. This is justice. Rebuilding started slow, the scent of fresh lumber mingling with lingering smoke, hammers echoing like promises. Mrs. Lopez helped plant new gardens, her laughter a balm. Elias and I shared a beer on the new porch, The sunset painting the sky in fiery huesa, reminder of what was lost, but also reborn. In the end, it wasn't just about winning. It was about standing up when the world tries to knock you down. Karen's downfall proved that even the mightiest bullies crumble under the weight of their own malice. And as I watched my horses graze under the stars, their soft whinnies a lullaby, I knew. Resilience isn't just surviving the fire, it's rising from the ashes, stronger, with the truth as your shield. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the wind, but it always finds its way.